and lives of Nova Scotians who occasionally need to seek the assistance of their government does not fit, in my mind, with the legacy of this historic Nova Scotia legislature. Nova Scotians have an absolute right to contact their government representatives when they have questions or concerns about a process, policy, or indeed individual case handling within a government department. And I encourage all to do so in an appropriate manner and setting. The protocol for these concerns is in place, Mr. Speaker, respecting the privacy and reputation of these Nova Scotians while dealing with the inquiries in a personal, confidential, and respectful manner. Mr. Speaker, this is not about not being accountable, transparent, or addressing issues that need to be addressed. It is just the opposite. I believe that if you asked members of this legislature, they would tell you my staff and the employees at Community Services are concerned, just, passionate, and responsive. Mr. Speaker, I respectfully request that you take this matter under advisement and rule on the admissibility of bringing individual names and personal cases onto the floor of the legislature for political gain.
Order, please. Order, please. Order, please. The rights and privileges of members of this House are brought forward if there's a concern about those rights and privileges before this House. And I indicated at the beginning of the session that all members, regardless of what their concerns may be, in order to have them properly addressed, must address those matters within this chamber. And if members have a concern to bring forward, they can bring that concern before this House. And if they have to take time to explain or articulate themselves, then we as members shall listen to them, just as much as I will sit here and listen to any member that responds to the point of order that's been raised, and I will take it under the appropriate advisement and ruling. So the honourable member for Cape Breton Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In response, I leave it up to your judgment, obviously, but you know, as far as I understand, Mr. Speaker, there was nobody in this House brought forward questions about the professionality of any of the staff of the minister who spoke. And indeed, it's not uncommon to bring personal cases forward in this House, Mr. Speaker. So it was a very wide range swath that the member brought forward with many accusations, but very little basis. So I would hope you would judge accordingly. Thank you.
The Honourable Leader of the Liberal Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And it is a valid point that the Minister does raise in regards to privacy concerns, yet at the same time, Mr. Speaker, I don't think any member of this House would raise the name of a constituent without having consent before that. And, and if, well, Mr. Speaker, if that's the case, I have yet in my 9 years to have any Nova Scotian come forward and say that their name has been used without their authority in the House of Assembly. I've yet to see it. But, Mr. Speaker, in that regard, through our constituency offices, dealing with the federal government, dealing with the provincial government, we're often required to have a consent form signed by our constituents to obtain information on their behalf, as we see it quite often when it comes to dealings with the federal government. It may be something for us to look at here, Mr. Speaker, at the House of Assembly, that we as legislators, that when we are bringing forward the name of individuals, that we would have a similar type consent form as well, simply to establish to you as Speaker the knowledge that the individual whose name is being raised has consented to their case being brought forward. Mr. Speaker, at the end of the day, we have to realize that our job as legislators often is to make the government aware that there's a human face to the issues that are being brought up, that there's real people, real families, real children, real situations, and that it's real people that we're talking about. And it's important sometimes that government needs to realize that, and too often we get locked down in bureaucratic decisions that fail to look at the real face and the real impact. And to say that we should never be allowed to do that again in the future as legislators, I believe would be a disservice for our duties to represent our constituents to the best of our abilities. And I would hope that the Speaker will keep that in mind. I appreciate the privacy concerns the Minister is raising. I think there is a way to be able to address that, but at the end of the day that we as legislators in this House cannot put a real face to the issues facing Nova Scotians is the day that this House is no longer serving the people of this province the way it should be.
will, before taking this under advisement, note, and it is with a serious matter that we have to deal with. One of the things that is foremost is that all members are honorable members before this House when they stand and rise and speak. And any statement that is made is made with the assumption that the Hansard records it and reflects it as a true statement with the knowledge of that member when they make that statement. And that is something that this House provides, as well as the immunity that this chamber also provides members. However, as we've indicated at the close of question period, there's issues of parliamentary practice and form, and whether it's unparliamentary or not. There is a challenge in this day and age where we have instantaneous broadcasting of the House procedures, where in years gone by, there would be an opportunity, for instance, to reflect any changes in Hansards before they would be made public. Now it is more of an instantaneous process, so therefore, if there is information that may be supplied to a member, regardless of who that member is, that takes it on its best, on its face value as being true and correct, that indeed would be something they may respond to. The negative side of that, of course, is if it is reflected in a manner that is not truly correct and impacts, more importantly, someone in the public that indeed you may be trying to represent, and at the same time be reflected on them in a negative way by other public impressions of the matter. So I do want to thank all those that have spoken on this matter. I will indicate, what does it say, the Honourable Leader of the Liberal Party has provided what he thinks is a suggestion, and yes, indeed, constituency offices for disclosure purposes need to know that you're fully authorized to do that, and then there's ownership on behalf of the person requesting your intervention on their behalf. I think we have a duty as members of this Assembly to Nova Scotians, and more importantly, to protect the members of this chamber, that indeed your parliamentary privileges are being upheld and that your statements that you make are being made with the authority of others, and the information that you then are provided is on the responsibility of others and not negatively reflected on members. So I shall take it under advisement and report back at my earliest opportunity to this House. The Honourable Member for Dartmouth North on an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to bring the House's attention to the visitor in the West Gallery. Mr. Joe Gibson's been the Executive Director of the Freedom Foundation Men's Homes for Addictions in Dartmouth North for some 18 years, and I'd just like the House to give Mr. Gibson a warm welcome.
Indeed, welcome to our guests and all visitors of Province House today. Government business, the Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would move that the House now, that you leave the chair and that the House resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole House on Supply.
Motion is carried. The House shall now resolve itself in the Committee of the Whole House on Supply unto Her Majesty.
Order, please. We'll now begin estimates. We'll start with the NDP and the member for Pictou West.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and another day, another opportunity to get some answers, I guess, from the Department of Transportation on some of the budget estimates and some of the public policy questions that arise here in our province. And yesterday, as you may recall, Mr. Chair, we were in the midst of talking about some public tenders and the Public Tenders Office and the procedure and how things operate there. And as we learned yesterday, sometimes the lowest tender is awarded and sometimes it's not. And I think in particular the case I mentioned here with the public tender not being awarded was for a tire retreading contract that didn't go to the lowest tender, but in actual fact for, I understand, was quality reasons, or it's been retendered, and you know, we'll see what happens on that. But the only difficulty, of course, is sometimes when a retender is that other competition then knows what where the ballpark figure is for those that have already tendered their price. That's public information. But I guess just as we ended yesterday, I was going on to another public tenders case that came to my attention just yesterday, and it was a tender around pavement line painting. And in this case, it was awarded to the lowest tender. But there's some concerns, I guess, raised by the operator that had the contract for a number of years. And so he's asking some questions. So really, I'm asking those questions on his behalf. The company was City Pavement Markings Canada Limited, a local company from my area. And in this case, the contract has gone to a new company that I'm told has little or no experience. And so I guess the question I have, first of all, to ask is around how is it that tenders are awarded? Is it always based on price? The lowest price, is that the most important consideration? Or are there considerations around quality or around experience of operators? Just in this particular case, for sure, you know, was price the only criteria, or were other factors taken into consideration?
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I could tell the honourable member that, first of all, in respect to the tender he is talking about, that the contract has not been awarded. Okay, the tenders are in, the tenders are opened. There is a process whereby the lowest tender is evaluated to determine that the proponent is qualified to do the work. And if it is the lowest tender and the company is qualified to do the work, then under normal circumstances, the contract is awarded to that person or company. I can tell you that to date, no decision has been taken with respect to that contract because the process of determining the qualification is still in process.
Honourable member for Pictou West.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I guess I had understood that perhaps the award had already been given to the other company, but I guess if it's still under consideration, then that's good to know. But I guess I just want to ask then, what are the factors? You know, there's several factors that I would think or would hope would be considered in awarding of a contract like this. That would include certainly the price. That's an important component, but also the quality of the workmanship, past history or past performance of the company, safety, I suppose, especially in a case like this where it's on a very busy road beds, much traffic. That would be the experience of the crew that would be directing traffic and so on. So I just want to ask them what criteria are looked at in awarding a contract.
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And again, price, of course, is the factor that causes us to say, here's the company with the lowest price. Now the job is to determine whether or not, in our opinion, that company is capable of doing the work. We need to look at the equipment that they use or propose to use, look at the qualifications of the personnel in that company and their ability to be able to deliver the job according to the specifications that are laid out in the contract.
Honourable member for Pictou West.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I'll have a follow-up question then. You know, when an award is given to a particular company and it's found partway through a period of time that it's not working out, or the company doesn't have the staff to do the job properly, or you know, whatever circumstances, it's not in a timely way meeting the specs that are of the contract. Does the department have a policy that they can actually step in and remedial action to either improve the quality of the work that's being provided, or some assurance that they're actually going to be able to finish on time? Or can it actually be taken away from a contractor that's not performing according to the specs that are there? And I know there's often a bid deposit that's put down, or security given, but sometimes the cost of remediating a contract that's gone bad may be actually more than the bid deposit. So does that happen very often? And if so, what process do you have to mediate in a situation like that?
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The contractor who is awarded a contract must live up to the specifications as set out in the contract. If they fail to do that, the initial step would be to point out to the contractor that there are deficiencies in the work that they are doing, and sit down with them and address those deficiencies. If, however, the contractor is not able to correct the deficiencies that are there, then, of course, you reach a stage where you need to take other action, and part of that other action is to, in fact, take the contract away and give the work to somebody else. Most of the time, fortunately for us, when we award a contract, the due diligence that we do prior to the awarding of that contract determines that the contractor is qualified, and for the vast majority of our contracts, the work is carried out according to the specifications. Now, that's not to say that we don't, from time to time, need to have discussions with contractors. That's why there are inspectors. That's why there is the process of due diligence. But for the most part, our contractors in this province deliver very good work on behalf of the department and the people of the province.
Revert back to business. The Honourable Member for Pictou West.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one final comment or question, I guess, on this situation. You know, I guess I would hope that the department will follow all their guidelines and look at full due diligence, and the quality and experience and safety and price. You know, all the factors would be considered, and I'm sure it will be. So I guess the final question is just, when do you expect that this tender would be awarded?
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Normal process to determine the qualifications of a contractor would be a couple of weeks, and it's a normal process, and that is underway. Obviously, we want the work done in the spring, so we're not going to dilly-dally with respect to making that determination.
Honourable Member for Pictou West.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to move on now to another topic, and as you know, Mr. Minister, I guess part of my role as opposition critic for transportation is to bring forward issues and concerns from residents from around Nova Scotia, and certainly from my own riding as well, with concern about roads and bridges and other transportation issues. And yesterday I brought to your attention the situation on the Mooseland Road along the eastern shore. And today I have a letter that I want to bring forward. I believe that the minister also received. It's concerning the Millbrook Road in my riding in Pictou West, located in western Pictou County. And it's from a gentleman by the name of David Boran. And David is a safety compliance officer, works with King Freight Lines in Pictou County, a large international or long-haul trucking company. And he has about 12 years' experience working as a safety officer with that company. And he lives in the Salt Springs, Lime Rock area of Pictou West. And I assume, Mr. Minister, you've seen this letter. It was dated March the 28th of this year. And he points out the very poor condition of the Millbrook Road. He's mentioning that it's full of holes. There's a couple of holes right across the road that are about 6 inches deep. Basically saying, the road is not acceptable. It's a safety issue more than anything. And he's asking, I guess, in light of the perhaps the mild winter we had and hopefully cost savings that we had on winter maintenance, if there might be some available dollars to help fix the Millbrook Road. But he says it's an accident waiting to happen. And he goes on about other problems that have occurred on the road, with pavement cracking and so on. But it's a very serious issue, and certainly as a safety compliance officer, I think he certainly knows what he's talking about. But he's basically asking, instead of continuously patching the road and a little bit of work here and there, is it possible to have some commitment to a long-term plan or some design that, or some hope that people would know that there is going to be work done on this particular road?
Order, please. Just before I call on the minister, I would ask the honourable member to table a copy of that letter, please. The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I can tell the honourable member that within the department, the normal course of addressing correspondence such as the correspondence the member has tabled is, first of all, for it to be routed through to the local staff so that they are aware of the concerns that are being expressed by citizens, and the local staff also provide us with their assessment of the road in question, and that usually winds up being incorporated into the response that would be sent out for that letter either by myself or a member of staff. And of course, all of these communications that we receive from all Nova Scotians are duly noted, and the roads in question are categorized with respect to the priorities in the regions, and they become part of a larger plan because we are dealing with scarce resources. Then, of course, very often our ability to address every concern that we hear is limited, but there is an effort made to ensure that the concerns of citizens are in fact addressed, and that work on these roads is performed over time. The scope of the work will very much depend upon the condition of the road and the resources that we have available at the time.
The honourable member for Pictou West.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I will table that letter here shortly, but I know I see the minister was copied on the letter, as well as some other folks here, and certainly if the local staff doesn't already have it, Area Manager Troy Webb or the operations supervisor for the area certainly will be bringing it to their attention, but I assume that may have already been done. But I will make doubly sure that they have that. But I guess really the question here is, it's a safety issue, and it's a major concern for Mr. Boran, as it is for a number of drivers and residents in that particular area. And it's in his opinion, one of the worst roads that in the area, and he's asking is, why can't we fix the worst roads first? So I'll ask the minister that same question. Can we fix the worst roads first?
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
The, we do rather significant evaluation of the conditions of roads before determination is made with respect to the amount of work that will be done by way of repair and when that will be done. And part of that evaluation is the drive over by the ARAM vehicle, which evaluates the ride, the quality of the road, the rutting, and the roughness of the road. It provides us with an assessment there. That's part of the factor. The traffic volume that goes over that road is another consideration that is taken into account. The ability what is it? Oh yes, the maintenance history of the road, things that need to be done. There are sometimes various steps that you need to take to restore a road. If the drainage on the road, for instance, is not good, then you can't address the surface of the road first. You first must address the drainage, ensure that the moisture is moving away from the road so that it has the capacity to dry appropriately before you can go ahead and start addressing the surface of the road, either through the addition of gravel and the crowning of the road with the graders, or in the case of pavement, the restoration of the pavement needs to take place after drainage issues are done. So it's certainly a rather sophisticated process that is followed by the department in terms of establishing the priorities as to where the work is done. And as I indicated, volume is also a part of the criteria that is applied.
Honourable Member for Pictou West.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I just would ask that the Minister and staff may be able to give every serious attention to the Millbrook Road, and one of many roads in our province that need attention. And I too will be bringing it to the attention of our local staff. I want to, in the few minutes I have remaining, I want to move on to another topic, and that I don't think I had the chance previously to bring up, and I'm not sure if any member has brought along, but in your budget on page 20.8, it talks about the Atlantic Gateway Initiative, or I guess the Nova Scotia Gateway Initiative, and this is certainly an exciting prospect for Nova Scotia if it were to become a reality. And I see over $1 million has been budgeted to get started on this project. And if I can quote from the page 28, it says, an aggressive gateway communications and marketing strategy will be undertaken, engaging key stakeholders, conducting in-depth research. I wonder if you could give us, Mr. Minister, just an overview of what this Gateway Initiative is all about, and just where we hope to end up with it.
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I certainly welcome the opportunity to address the Gateway and some of the opportunities that are available to Nova Scotia as a result of the Gateway concept and the development of the Gateway. First of all, it's important to understand that the world economy is very rapidly changing. Areas of growth in the world economy are in the subcontinent of India and in China, the fastest growing areas. Yesterday I had the privilege of meeting with the Consul General to Canada from India, and we talked about the growth of the Indian economy and the opportunities that that exist for trade as a result of that growth. There are some other factors that are occurring that are very significant with respect to this whole opportunity around the gateway. The traffic patterns that are developing as a result of the change in the size of the ships that are being used to transport containers. The next generation of ships are so large that they are unable to traverse the Panama Canal in its present configuration. And that means that the Suez Canal is going to become the preferred route of these vessels to North America from the Indian subcontinent and from parts of China. So as a result of these changing vessels, and they are being assembled as we speak, and some already plying the waters, there will be increased container traffic coming to North America from the Suez Canal. Nova Scotia is ideally positioned to be able to become the first port of call of those container ships that are coming here. We have some challenges to ensure that not only do we convince them that we should be the first port of call, but that we should continue to be the first port of call. So marketing is a very important element of reaching out to the people in the transportation business as well as the people in the retail business, because more and more the retailers are taking a bigger role in answering the transportation questions. It used to be that was left entirely in the hands of the transportation companies, but now the retailers and distributors are beginning to become very much involved in that decision-making process themselves. So there is a very real marketing challenge that's there, or marketing opportunity that's there for us to be able to reach out and to convince the decision makers of the importance of them deciding to make Nova Scotia the first port of call in the North American East Coast. If we are successful and I'm very confident that we will be, of bringing these people to Nova Scotia and Halifax, and there's also interest in the Strait of Canso by shipping interests. But Halifax has demonstrated its capacity as a container port. It's well known throughout the world, and we have the opportunity to attract this traffic to this area. When we get them here, it's extremely important that they know they're in a port that is among the most efficient ports in the world, so that containers can be offloaded and loaded quickly enough for those vessels to be able to stick to very tight schedules that they keep as they traverse the world. So we have a challenge to ensure that we are the most efficient port anywhere, and that is certainly one of the objectives that would be there for as part of the responsibility of the Atlantic Gateway. There are some other issues that are relevant with respect to opportunities, and there's a lot of congestion, for instance, on the West Coast, not just in Canada, but the entire West Coast of North America. That is causing shippers to seek different routes in order to get to market. So Nova Scotia is ideally positioned then to become the conduit for container traffic that would flow from these new vessels that are plying the waters coming through the Suez Canal into the central Canadian market, into the American Midwest, and and from there funneling into other parts of North America. So we have tremendous assets here, but it is a very competitive world, and we have to be out there ensuring that we're on top of things. So the $1 million will help us doing the marketing that needs to be done. It will help us hire staff that will assist us in formulating the nature of the research that needs to be done to allow us to become more competitive, to allow us to examine in conjunction with the ports issues around configuration, best use of equipment, and things of that nature, so that we can establish ourselves as one of the most efficient ports in the world. And if we do that, we will certainly be very successful in attracting this container traffic to North America. Now, having said all of that about container traffic is not to diminish the potential that is out there with respect to the air traffic coming to Atlantic Canada and Nova Scotia. And Halifax International Airport has established itself as one of the class airports anywhere in the world. It has won numerous awards and recognition, and that will assist us in both in the development of the tourism industry, but also in the development of air cargo transport, which is becoming more and more important with respect to business. So the airport is an extremely important element of the gateway concept. And reference was made earlier today, I believe, or yesterday, about the growth in the cruise ship industry in Nova Scotia. And that, of course, is a very important part of the gateway concept as well. So I apologize, Mr. Chair, if my answer was a bit lengthy, but he, in asking the question about Gateway, has put his finger on something that we consider to be very important, and something about which I'm extremely enthused, and we look forward to some very positive results for Atlantic Canada and Nova Scotia in particular.
The honourable member for Pictou West.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I know and I share the Minister's passion or enthusiasm for this project. I think it's a good one for Nova Scotia, and of course we know we do have competition, and I guess the Port of Montreal certainly being one of those competitors, and I certainly would encourage the department to do all that they can to move this project along, and it has a lot of potential for increasing the economy here of this province. And I did probably expect a long answer, and I guess that's maybe what I got. So anyway, we only have so much time in our estimates, and I'm going to share my time here now with the member from Halifax Atlantic.
The honourable member for Halifax Atlantic.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you very much, Minister, for making the time to answer some of these questions. I know he's not here officially, but I'm glad that the Minister of Service Nova Scotia is here as well, because I know that you share a good number of concerns, and I'm sure you know that as you and I have spent a lot of time discussing the great puzzle of the relationship of municipal and provincial jurisdiction inside the sort of non-urban core areas of the larger municipalities. I guess I'd like to bring up a couple of specific issues that do come up in my area of Halifax Atlantic as a result of the confusion of jurisdiction, I guess, and the lack of change in the jurisdiction of responsibility over these areas. So I think I've told you, a lot of the constituents in Halifax Atlantic who live beyond the urban core area, as it was defined in 1996 at amalgamation, really find themselves and feel, I think, that they're paying city prices for country roads. And I keep telling them that, country roads, in effect, is what the province is not. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and the province does, I would say, a very fine job of providing service on those roads. Those are the roads that lead from community to community, as opposed to being the roads that are inside the community. In some of the growing exurban areas of the regional municipality, though, what you get is those roads between communities have really turned out to be the roads inside communities more recently. And the tangles that come up concern sometimes the issues of plowing and paving on the highway when the change comes between the urban core and the provincial areas of responsibility, and sometimes all those roads that existed in rural communities before amalgamation. And I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. It's just that at amalgamation, and I know your predecessor and I have had this discussion many times as well, the commitment was that every 3 years there would be a review and a renegotiation of the urban core area. That has never taken place, and I am wondering if you know anything about the process of those negotiations and when the residents of the developing urban areas in the municipality can expect that, in fact, there will be a clear decision made on whether they are living in an urban or a rural area.
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank the honourable member for the question. And I certainly appreciate the challenges that would exist in terms of getting your head around the results of the amalgamation vis-a-vis roads in HRM. But I can tell the honourable member that there was an agreement reached with HRM in 2002, and as a result of that agreement, okay, the spring of '06, there was an agreement reached. As a result of the discussions, the honourable member made reference to the need to get together and to discuss. Well, they did get together, and in the spring of '06, they did in fact come to an agreement, and the results of that agreement was the transfer of 60 kilometers of roads, and that was a very significant change with respect to the thing, and we're continuing to be in contact with HRM.
The Honourable Member for Halifax Atlantic.
Yeah, I knew that there had been a transfer of roads in many parts of the outlying areas within the last year or so. Is there, at this point, a triggering density along distance of, highway, I guess you would say, at which provincial roads do become municipal responsibility, and I mean per kilometre of road as opposed to per square kilometre density?
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. There is indeed a number that does trigger some activity with respect to number of dwellings per square kilometre, and that triggers a discussion, and I can tell the honourable member that the last agreement was in '06. There will be another, the next term is in '09, but of course in the meantime we're always open to sitting down with HRM to discuss various concerns that people have, especially when an area does reach the threshold of dwellings per square kilometre that might trigger the need for a transfer.
Honourable Member for Halifax Atlantic.
I'm very pleased to hear that, because I know it has to be difficult to get those discussions going. I mean, particularly in the light of council minutes and so on that basically indicate in the past that they just plain don't want to take over roads unless obliged to. And it's back around 2000. I can give you that documentation if you want. One of the specific areas, and again, I just have to ask you about this tangle of jurisdiction, and I had talked about this with the Premier in his former portfolio as Minister of Tourism and Culture, and I think he hadn't been able to get much traction with it at that time. The transfer of lighthouses, and it may not seem as though it's all that relevant, but at least within Halifax Atlantic, There is one lighthouse, federal ownership, of course. Federal government wants to divest responsibility, has offered it to the province as part of a menu of lighthouses. When the lighthouse reaches a final ownership, the road leading to it will then have some ownership, and it will be possible to assign responsibility for it. The moment, however, the federal government, I assume it was the federal government, had granted permission to numerous householders over the preceding 60 years to build along that road, and they're sort of stranded out there at the end of a road, which HRM doesn't want. The province had not made a decision about ownership of the lighthouse itself, and the residents are concerned, and I would say justifiably concerned, not so much about the potholes, but about the extremely dense overgrowth at the sides of the road, which carries some 400 cars daily in the summer and has children walking home from school. It really is an accident waiting to happen.
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Excuse me, is that Duncan's Cove Road?
Yes, it is.
Okay. It's it's not a road that is under our jurisdiction, and we don't take ownership of lighthouses. We don't have any need for them, and all of our ferries are able to see their destination very clearly, and so we don't have that use for lighthouses, whatever. So, yeah.
The Honourable Member for Halifax Atlantic.
That's a really nice segue, because one of my next questions was about ferries, in fact. And, one of the questions that I did have was about TPW's responsibility inside municipalities and so on for ferry infrastructure. And I'm sure you're familiar, I've probably told you about the past with the Northwest Arm Ferry, which is an old public wharf that has been in existence it has been a place of public transportation since approximately, 1810 or so. Public wharf, matched by another public wharf on the other side of the Northwest Arm, used to provide be the place from which ferries traversed the arm from the county area to the city of Halifax, and that went on for many, many, many years. At some point, public wharf became determined to be municipal ownership, which has meant that it is no longer possible for private, or it has made it necessary for ferry operators to deal solely with the municipality in providing marine transport. And I'm just wondering whether the Department of Transportation sees any role in saltwater transportation inside the province, inside municipalities, given that every square inch of the province is included in some municipality or other.
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The role that we have with respect to saltwater transportation is to serve the provincial highway system in the province, but we don't have a role and have not exercised a role with respect to transportation within a municipal unit. That's not something that we've done, but we do operate with respect to the provincial highway system.
The Honourable Member for Halifax Atlantic.
Okay. Okay, good to know. You must have a role inside municipal units because everything's in one, but I can understand certainly. So basically, ferries are along when they're part of the route of a provincial highway. Got it. Okay. Another question that I did have, and it's, sorry, excuse me. Another question I had, and it's again sort of a Service Nova Scotia question, but I'm wondering whether you have had any discussions with them. I had the opportunity to meet with officials from CNR recently, and I'm waiting for the figures, but it would appear that a relatively significant portion of the budget of CNR, at least in Nova Scotia, and I don't know about other provinces, is in fact the payment of property taxes on rail lines. Now, to the degree that rail lines have been considered public infrastructure, to the degree that we have been losing rail lines within the province, has there been any discussion around the taxation of rail property in the province?
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I can advise the honourable member that my colleague, the Minister for Service, Nova Scotia Municipal Relations, will be doing his estimates after me, and that issue is something that lies entirely within his area of responsibility. I'm aware of that because I'm a former minister of that department and remember dealing with those issues. So it's not something I want to comment on since he's going to be doing his estimates.
The Honourable Member for Halifax Atlantic.
One last question, and I'll be very brief as this. In the 2005 Auditor General's report, there was reference to some 80 transportation and public works fleet sites which were almost all were contaminated, I think, in the Auditor General's report. Contaminated by fuel, spilled fuel, and so on at that time. I'm wondering whether by now an action plan has in fact been prepared for remediation of those sites and whether the cost of cleaning them up has been estimated. In fact, whether the recommendations of the 2005 AG report have been addressed vis-a-vis environment. So that is to say, cleanup of contaminated sites, and the second part of that is what progress has been made in ensuring that provincial policies on fuel-efficient vehicles are in fact echoed in procurement policy for transportation and public works fleets.
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm going to go to the last question first, and that is the procurement policy with respect to vehicles. The role of the Department of Transportation and Public Works is in the administration of the vehicles and the purchase and that. We do not develop the real policy as such. That's administered by the Minister of Economic Development. But I can tell the honourable member that the policy question surrounding vehicles is something that is a matter of discussion by government, but it would be another minister that should address that. With respect to the sites that we have addressed a number of those sites in the province. One of the areas that was the biggest offender were in our salt sheds, and they have been almost completely. We have 4 left to replace in the province, so there's considerable progress there. We have also, in other areas, done quite a bit of remediation work, and we have a plan. We've done an assessment as to which ones were the worst, and we're following through based on that assessment. And we've made some very real progress.
The Honourable Member for Halifax Atlantic.
Thank you, and I'll pass my time to the member for Cape Breton Nova.
Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Cape Breton Nova.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, let's start off in the short snapper category. I heard you mentioning earlier about the Atlantic Gateway. I wonder if has your department met with any company that's looking at building a container terminal in the Strait area of our province?
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We have met with a number of business interests who are interested in the Strait of Canso. We have people who have expressed interest in Sydney. We have people who obviously express interest in Halifax, and there's a considerable interest out there related to Nova Scotia.
The Honourable Member for Cape Breton Nova.
I'm wondering in that interest, and you did mention Sydney, and I'll bring this up. It seems that it's always brought up about Sydney not being an ice-free port. I wonder if the minister knows that over a 20-year period that the Sydney Harbour was closed a maximum of 7 days. So I find that hard when we still talk today about Sydney being not a nice free port when 7 days of 20 years that the port has been closed. So I think Sydney should be in the running also for consideration into that, along with the other companies in the Strait area in Halifax, and hopefully that'll come to fruition and we'll have some great economic development in those areas in the future. My next question now will be towards the corridor study on the Sydney-Glace Bay Highway. I'm wondering if there's anything scheduled this year within the Transportation and Public Works Department for containing to the corridor study on the Sydney-Glace Bay Highway, like lights, and I know there was some repaving, but is any kind of work to be done this year on that corridor study on the Sydney-Glace Bay Highway?
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I want to just go back to the first question for a moment, if I might. And I want to make it abundantly clear that the role of our department relative to Gateway is not in any way to try and dictate or move anybody to any particular part of the province. Our role is to promote the assets that we have and to work with companies that show an interest. Anything that's going to take place will take place as a result of private investors making a decision to invest in projects within the province. And we will do our best to accommodate and to look at needs that arise as a result of those investment decisions. With respect to the corridor highway, I can tell the honourable member that this year, as flowing out of the study, we will be putting a set of traffic lights at the Central Supplies intersection that's there, and that's was contained in that. And that work will be completed this year.
Honourable member for Cape Breton Nova.
Thank you. It's strange enough because I was out Saturday with my wife and to the Mayflower Mall to pick something up, and sure enough, there was a car accident right there when we were coming back in at the scheduled place for a set of lights. And I said to my wife that there's going to be a set of lights there shortly, and she said, well, not soon enough, apparently, when the ambulance and the police were on scene. But I'm glad that it's happening, and for the safety of the people that use that road. Also, there's quite a few bumps between the intersection on the start of the 125 to exit, I think it's exit, or the Sydney River exit. I think somebody had counted like 32 bumps from that area right through on the Trans-Canada Highway. It's becoming quite a desperate situation there. And they do have signs on the side of the road stating the bumps are there, and hopefully that, it looks like maybe we'll get some work done on that. But I don't want the minister to answer that because I'd like to ask the minister some stuff on Cisco, if that's possible. I know that over the times I've not agreed sometimes with some of the staff there, but I'll say that the staff has always gotten back to me on the Cisco issue, and I see they've been here now for 3 days, so I think I'll ask a question just to make it worthwhile that he's been here for 3 days now. And I'm wondering if the minister could answer, is there any money left in the Cisco budget? I have two questions. Any money left in the Cisco budget for 2007 and 2008? And also, if the Transportation and Public Works is in charge of Cisco, I'm wondering if there's an ongoing court case between the province and DeFerco. The minister can answer that, please.
Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank the honourable member for the question. The budget for 07-08 for Cisco is a $17.5 million figure, and that's money that's in there for this year. And I did miss the last part of your question. I apologize.
Honourable member for Cape Breton Nova.
Sorry about that, and I'll just ask it again. I'm wondering if there's an ongoing legal action or court case between Cisco and the former buyers that were going to buy Cisco, DeFerco. Is there an ongoing case in the province suing DeFerco?
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Chair, there is indeed a court case.
The Honourable member for Cape Breton Nova.
Thank you. I would like to know in that case, if that's the case, if the province is successful in suing DeFerco and receiving back some of the money, will that money be going to the former steelworkers or the general revenue in the province?
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
That's money that would flow to the general revenue of the province, Mr. Chairman.
The Honourable Member for Cape Breton Nova has the floor.
Boy, that's disappointing to hear as a former steelworker and a third-generation steelworker, because some of those men, there's 200, I think, around 14, and some have died. There's around 200, and I know now for the summer on social assistance in the province, and I don't understand why the government would take that money from a court case and not give it to the former Cisco workers, maybe to enhance some of the pensions that the other fellows had already received, or put the members that have not got a pension, maybe that money should be used so they can actually have a way of life. I don't think the money should go into the general revenues of the province of Nova Scotia. You know, and we see the same thing going on here in this legislature recently with Trenton. I just hope that Trenton doesn't go by the way of the Cisco and having guys on social assistance, because I do know members in my constituent are on community services. They're all average ages between 48 and 60. They can't travel to Alberta to work. They can't do anything like that. So, you know, they themselves, I would be very disappointed by the news that if there's a successful court case, because I'll bring back the minister on actually what's happened there. The pension issue back in 2000, 2001 was whether DeFerco was going to take the steel plant and operate the steel plant. When DeFerco deal fell through, whether it was because they couldn't get a deal from Nova Scotia Power for the new electric arc furnace, you know, to operate that furnace and produce steel at about $140 a ton when it was selling for $120 was what the take was back then. So the deal was that everybody else from 1974, 75 on, anybody that was hired before that 75 would get a pension based on the number of years service, whether it be 1,300, 1,400, all the way right up to the number of years service. But the deal was that those 214 guys that were left on the plant were going to be working for DeFerco. And now it's interesting to see that here's a court case going on, and if we're successful, that money is not going to go, which I feel rightfully so, to the former steelworkers that spent their livelihood and every dirty hole possible to mankind, and even stood on to clean the place up and did an admirable job to clean that place up. I don't agree with that, not one bit. I'm just thinking that that's where that money, or even indexing the Cisco pension. And my former colleague, my colleagues in the legislature have known that I've said that, you know, with Cisco, it's the only pension in the province of Nova Scotia, well, the teacher's pension now, but that's not indexed, the consumer price index. So, I mean, if I was to go on pension, like, and I think I talked to a gentleman who was 86 years old and went on pension in 1974, gets $308 a month. He still gets $308 a month. He'll get $308 a month if he lives to be 100. There's no indexing of the Cisco pension. And everything else is going up around us today, you know, to 2.9% and other things and consumer price indexing, but yet that pension has remained the same with no indexing of that pension. I'd like to switch now maybe to the tar ponds issue. I know the tar ponds issue now is getting underway with contracts and everything else, and I've put a private members bill in the legislature just last week on monitoring the health conditions of the people that surround the tar ponds. So I'm just wondering if the minister thinks that, you know, as time goes by with the high cancer rates in the province of Nova Scotia, that the bill that I put in for monitoring health risks associated with the cleanup of the tar ponds, I'd like to know the minister's thought on you know, keeping an eye on some of the health problems that we have there, but also monitoring the health issues with the people that live closest to the tar ponds for all these number of years. I'm just wondering the minister's feelings on how that's going over.
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I thank the honourable member for his views and his expression of those views. We have in fact entered into contractual arrangements which were negotiated with workers, and we have in fact lived up to all of those contractual arrangements, and indeed have provided a considerable amount of work, as the honourable member referenced, related to the cleanup at that area. With respect to the issue of health and dust at that site. We have Transportation Public Works and Department of Environment and Labour have prepared a health risk assessment for the site related to that. The soil cement has been applied to on-site flue dust in an attempt to control that. Air monitoring is in place and will continue. Watering equipment is put in place in order to help control that as well. And there is, in fact, a complaint phone number that is available as well for people to make contact when they feel the need.
Honourable member for Cape Breton Nova with approximately 30 seconds.
It just so happens that I have a copy of that, a community updates on dust issues in the, this was given to me by the Minister of Environment, and in that there, some of the people that I talked to, the statement in that was, where does dust come from? And we've lived there for, you know, there's been 100 years of steel making, coke processing, steel plant. But right now, the whole idea I'm trying to say is, and I only have a few seconds left, is that nobody's ever been held responsible for the dust in the area of that community. If it was anywhere else in this province, somebody would be held accountable, whether it was a private company, the government company, somebody would be held accountable. And that's what we have to do.
Order, please. Time has expired for the honourable member for Cape Breton Nova. I now recognize the honourable member for Clare.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I want to talk about crosswalk safety this afternoon. Mr. Chair, in the last several weeks, we've had some debate in this House about crosswalk safety. I think, Mr. Chair, we all realize that using crosswalks is a shared responsibility between pedestrians and drivers. But unfortunately, it's the pedestrians who have the most to lose. We brought the statistics on on crosswalk accidents here, especially in HRM, on the floor of the House. And when you look at these statistics, Mr. Chair, it shows that people are being injured at an alarming rate here in HRM and throughout Nova Scotia. Mr. Chair, I'm sure that Nova Scotia is not unique with problems of crosswalk safety. So my first question to the Minister is, has the department staff done any work at looking at other jurisdictions across Canada or even outside the country that have had similar problems in crosswalks and at the same time have addressed the issue of crosswalk safety? So I guess my first question to the Minister is, has the department done any work at looking at how other jurisdictions are looking at addressing crosswalk safety?
Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I want to say to the honourable member that as a department, we belong to national organizations that deal with a variety of issues relative to highways, roadways, crosswalks, and safety. And that, as a result of belonging to those national organizations, we are able to be continuously made aware of issues that exist in other jurisdictions. We're made aware of steps that are taken to address many of those issues. And we also, through membership in the national organization, are able to access other forums that are held internationally, and members of the department do travel to various points of North America and are in contact with what is happening elsewhere. And it is a continuous effort on the part of the department to make themselves or keep themselves up to date in various issues, but in crosswalks in particular.
The Honourable Member for Clare.
Thank you, and I want to thank the Minister for his response. Mr. Chair, last week it was reported that the Halifax Chamber of Commerce hosted a safety symposium here in HRM back in January. And I noticed from a government press release dated April 3rd, 2007, makes reference to a crosswalk safety symposium hosted by the Chamber of Commerce held here in January. So I have two questions to the Minister is, first of all, did some of the department staff attend the symposium? And my second question is, was this symposium focusing strictly on crosswalk safety as the government press release indicated back on April 3rd?
Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I can indicate to the honourable member that yes, we had several people from the Department of Transportation and Public Works attend that symposium. I can also indicate to the honourable member that we expect a report from that in early May, and once that report is received, then we have a timetable in place where both the Mayor and myself hope to receive results from that on an interim basis in July of this year, and that will allow us to set forth a course of action, in particular one which might lead to legislative recommendations, and anticipate the final report of this group that will be dealing with it by October, and we have funded this group as well.
The honourable member for Clare.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to focus a little bit about this joint working group. Last week, Mr. Chair, the Minister announced that the government, along with the Halifax Regional Municipality, will be forming a joint working group to improve crosswalk safety. Now, Mr. Chair, we don't know when this working group will be formed. We don't know when this working group will be up and running. The Minister just indicated that he anticipates to receive a report from the symposium sometimes next month. Again, we don't know when the report on this January symposium will be completed for this working group. So my question to the Minister is, while we're waiting for these for the working group to be up and running and get to work, I'm just curious, when I hear the Minister talking about we need to take immediate steps to ensure safety in crosswalks. You know, there's no time here, Mr. Chair, to waste in promoting safety for our citizens. So, in the meantime, my question to the Minister is, while we're awaiting to hear back from this working group, will the Minister consider implementing an advertising campaign to promote safety awareness in crosswalks?
Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and the answer is yes, and we have money set aside for that purpose, and you can expect to start seeing the results of that campaign in the very near future. I want to clear up, perhaps I wasn't as clear in my answer as I might have been with respect. I anticipate receiving a report from the symposium that was held in January in early May. We, through the Mayor and myself, have put together, or in the process of putting together, a group. We have identified 10 people. I think 7 have confirmed that they will be part of that group that will take the results of the symposium as well as the other results that we have. The honourable member made reference to the fact that we have people travelling to various parts of Canada, keeping up to date, other parts of North America and other jurisdictions. We anticipate that this group will work for the period of the next 6 months. I'm seeking an interim report from them in July. that would give us the heads up we need with respect to any legislative changes that we would want, so that those legislative changes could be ready for October, for the fall sitting of the House. And we anticipate that the final report from that working group that the Mayor and I put together would be available at the end of October, the end of that 6-month period. So we are gearing up to work very quickly to deal with the recommendations and other recommendations that we have, to prepare a legislative program, and to fully implement the results of that. And in the meantime, we are going to increase the awareness around the safety issues with respect to crosswalk safety through a public awareness campaign.
The Honourable Member for Clare.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and certainly that will be, I'm sure, welcoming news for all the citizens here in Nova Scotia with that awareness campaign. I want to return back to the symposium. I'm still not clear. As I've indicated, the Halifax Chamber of Commerce hosted a safety symposium back in January. I'm trying to find out if that symposium focused strictly on crosswalk safety, or did it focus on, a number road safety issues, including crosswalk safety. So I'm just curious if the minister could inform the committee on this symposium that took place back in January, exactly what was this symposium focusing on?
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. First of all, I want to indicate that the symposium was focused on crosswalk safety entirely. That was the subject matter that was at hand. Secondly, it looked at the whole range of issues that exist around crosswalk safety, beginning with the very important need for the promotion of crosswalk safety and ways in which we can be more effective relative to that promotion. It is also looking at engineering around crosswalks. It is looking at the configuration and the types of crosswalks that exist, and hopefully they will incorporate an assessment of the most up-to-date technologies that are around that, or that would have been made available to them in that symposium. They also, let's see, I've done engineering, design, and enforcement is also was a very important part of that symposium as well. So it was focused on crosswalk safety, and it was comprehensive in terms of the subject matter that was dealt with.
The Honourable Member for Clare.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe just to close discussion on crosswalk safety, I certainly appreciate the Minister sharing what the department is actually in the process of doing. And I think ultimately, whatever the Minister, the department, the government can do to increase crosswalk safety in our province, I'm sure will be welcomed by everyone. Mr. Chair, I want to move to, I've got a couple more topics. The next one that I want to talk about is talk about the policy of the department for painting highway lines on our roads. I know in Clare for the last several years, the department every year paints the lines, highway lines on our roads, on our three major roads, on the 101, on Trunk 1, and on the 340, and then on all the secondary roads that basically crisscrosses our municipality. They alternate. Every second year, they basically come around and paint the lines on our secondary roads. I'm just curious, first of all, is that a department's policy, or is that strictly a policy that applies to the municipality of Clare? So maybe I'll begin with that one, Mr. Chair.
Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I'm pleased that the honourable member has raised that issue. I just want to make one reference that I truly appreciate the interest that the honourable member has on the issue of crosswalk safety. I know that you related to me an experience that you had, and it's experiences like that that really cause one to focus on the issue, and I very much appreciate the sincerity with which you bring that issue forward to the House today. On the matter of lines, last year we added an additional $1 million to the Department of Transportation Public Works budget specifically for the purpose of making sure that we painted the lines on every road every year. And that applies right across the province. And we also, in our routes, added the feature of not just painting the routes and the trunk roads, of not just painting the center line, but also painting the white line at the edge of the road to more clearly mark the road for people that are driving. And that's a major improvement for the department, something which I'm very pleased with. It's something that the Premier was a real champion of, because it is very important for all of us, but especially those of us who are perhaps grayer and thinner on top than others, that these lines are very important in terms of assisting people in the driving. You'll get there soon enough, Trevor. So I'm sorry I didn't choose his name, but you'll be there soon enough.
Honourable Member for Clare.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understood from the minister response that it is a provincial policy to paint all the highway lines on all our roads. So I still don't understand. In Clare, Mr. Chair, for the last 3, 4, 5 years, we've been painting all the lines, as I've indicated, on our 3 main highways. But we've been alternating every second year to paint the lines on our secondary roads. So I'm just curious if, we're looking at all the major roads are painted every year, and all the secondary roads are basically being painted on a 2-year cycle. So maybe the minister could clarify whether or not secondary roads, highway lines, are painted annually, or if it's on a 2-year cycle.
Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The policy is that all roads, secondary, route roads, trunk roads, and 100 series highways will be painted annually. Now, that policy was put in place last year, but I can say to the honourable member, while we put the money in place to be able to do that, we didn't have the resources, and we needed to purchase an additional truck to assist with the painting. So that last year we were not able to meet the objective of doing every single road once a year. This year we feel quite confident that we will, and so it's your area should be able to look forward to having all of those roads painted annually, and if not, we'd like to hear from you.
Honourable Member for Clare.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. And the reason why I'm raising this is because, of course, residents from Clare has raised the safety issue with me personally, especially in the second year, or going into the second year. There's a lot of roads, practically the lines have disappeared. So again, I'm glad to hear the minister talking about bringing this change in policy and making sure that our lines on our roads, on paved roads, are painted annually. Mr. Chair, we have approximately, I believe, about 10-15 minutes, and I will take my seat, and my colleague from Kings West will complete the time that we have left. Thank you.
Recognize the honourable member for Kings West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. and certainly pleased today to have the opportunity to ask a few questions with the remaining time with the Minister of Transportation and his staff. The first one is one of those ones, I guess, as I make the trip each week from the Valley to Halifax and traveling over to 101, I couldn't help but wonder if the replacement work on the cement section of the 101 when you leave Falmouth heading to the city, whether or not the work that was done last year, which certainly I think was more extensive than the previous year, whether or not that comes under a warranty arrangement, or just the condition of the road necessitated that there be some replacement of the cement. And perhaps the minister could comment as well on the future of using cement on our roads in Nova Scotia.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank the honourable member for the question, and I want to make it quite clear to the honourable member that the work that was done last year was done under warranty, and the work was not up to standards, certainly not up to the standard that the cement industry itself would want to see, and what they feel that they are capable of doing. So that was repaired, and we look forward to that being able to last. I am familiar with a piece of cement road that is in Cumberland County. The honourable member may have been on it. It's been there for quite a few years now, 14 years, and it seems to be holding up quite well. The real issue around cement is the price issue, and if asphalt prices had continued to rise the way they were last year, if that was a trend that was going to continue into the future, then you might reach a point where it would trip the use of cement as being much more viable. The other factor that you have to take into account is the longevity of cement, and that's something that we will look forward to evaluating on the piece on the 101 in terms of how well it lasts now that it has been properly repaired. I wonder, Mr. Chair, if I might take the time for an introduction while I'm on my feet.
Please do.
Joining us in the East Gallery, Mr. Chairman, is a very good friend of mine. He's a constituent of mine as well. Lives in Dunmore in Antigonish County. He is a former Member of Parliament for Cape Breton Highlands Council. He's a former president of the Antigonish Progressive Conservative Association. He is very active in his community, and somebody that I've come to respect greatly over the years, Mr. Lawrence O'Neill. If Lawrence would stand.
The Honourable Member for Kings West.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and Minister, for those factual comments that you presented me with. The other, I guess, area in regards to the 101 that's easy to make a positive comment about is the work that was carried out this winter, and it was somewhat surprising to see that much work go on, but perhaps due to an open winter, and just basically heading to the obvious point as to the minister making a little bit of a status report on how work on the 101 is progressing, and certainly targets set for 2007-2008 construction season.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We will get the plan of action available here to me. I just want to add something to the comments about cement that we do, in fact, call alternate proposals in certain circumstances where we would evaluate a cement bid as opposed to the normal asphalt bid. And so that is something that is ongoing. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I can tell the honourable member that our plan of action with respect to this road is the Hansport interchange at Halfway River. We're going to be doing structures there in 0708. Estimated cost of over $4 million to do that. The Bishopville Road tunnel, that replacement will occur, and that is about a $1.1 million cost. The Hants-King County line westerly to existing Twinning at Avonport is 7.6 kilometers subgrade from station 84 plus 500 to 90 plus 122. That's grading work, and some of that was begun last year, and it will continue this year at a cost of over $3.5 million. And also the Falmouth to Hants-King County line, 5.5 kilometers of grading, and that is an amount of over $5 million for that.
Honourable member for Kings West.
Mr. Minister, for that update on the 101. The only question that I have regarding the 101 in my riding is an area that's been talked about now for several years, and certainly the need continues to grow, and that is an interchange west of Colebrook in the Waterville area. You know, we all know there's been an additional expansion at Michelin, and the Twin Mountain construction, Howard Little construction. Certainly the tractor-trailer traffic has increased substantially going through those populated and business communities. And so I'm just wondering if that's been taken out of the filing cabinets and is receiving any work, any look at this stage.
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The interchange is something that indeed is coming out of the filing cabinet. It is part of the planning process. And I can say to the honourable member that it is a piece of work that would be eligible for cost sharing when we are able to reach an agreement with the Government of Canada relative to the most recent budget that they brought forward.
The honourable member for Kings West.
Mr. Chair, and to the Minister, one of the I guess very strong initiatives, perhaps over the last 25 years, in the riding where I reside and represent is the Sand Seal program. And I know at one time there was a plant, I guess, perhaps in the vicinity, and sand sealing roads was very aggressively carried out. And certainly in some of those areas where you have a sand base and an esker type of geological structure, I know they've served very, very well. But there seems to be a reduction now in annual work on sand sealing, and a couple of the roads in particular, and I think of the Ward Road where we have the Oak Lawn Zoo, which is very, very heavily traveled, and certainly could have some upgrade there. So I'm just wondering a little bit about the future of the Sand Seal program and what may in fact be carried out this year.
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The Sand Seal program has been quite consistent over the last number of years, and it's our plan to maintain it as we have. And not every road needs to be done every year when it comes to sand seal, because sometimes you get much longer period of time out of that. But there are no plans to alter the current sand seal program.
Honourable member for Kings West.
Just to be specific for the coming season in terms of rim work, I'm wondering what the dollar figure may be. I know Kings County certainly gets broken up according to the ridings and the base garages. And I was just would like to know, if there is anything specifically targeted under the RIM program. Does it match what we've traditionally have in the area, and whether the budget has allowed for some expansion of that program?
The Honourable the Member of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and the Honourable Member would know that we allocate the money according to administrative districts, and Kings County is one of those administrative districts in the province. You will get proportionately the same share that you got in previous years, except this year there will be $2.5 million more in the RIM pot than there was previously, since we reached our commitment of putting $20 million of RIM money in the budget annually. And we're very pleased that we've accomplished that, and we've accomplished it 1 year earlier than committed.
The Honourable Member for Kings West.
The past year, perhaps the past winter and this spring, I must say, probably maybe a combination of the kind of winter that we had, plus I know that in working closely with Berwick Base and with Mr. Ward before he was moved out of New Minas, I know that areas that require some urgency and immediacy of attention, they certainly get responded to. And as other members have commented upon their base garage, I can certainly only give strong positive comments and accolades to Mr. Mike Best and his crew and the work that they do. The one area that I have received a number of calls on, because it has become I guess a more used section, a higher volume of traffic, and that's the North River Road. And I know it's a road that the Deputy Minister is quite familiar with, because he goes out to Aylesford Lake. And I'm just wondering, there was a paved section done in King South of about 10 kilometers, and there's a very, very poor section of about 4 kilometers, and I'm wondering if that's in the works for any upgrade, or do we basically have to sort of, I guess, put in a request through the RIM program to hopefully give that road some attention. I know that there are certainly a few advocates out there who certainly are hoping to get a meeting with the Deputy Minister to discuss the issues of that road. It's becoming a more heavily populated area. The lakes are constantly selling lots now for people who, in latter years of work and looking at retirement, and certainly the volume to Aylesford Lake, which is a prominent recreation area promoted and developed by Kings County. So that section of the North River Road is one of the troublesome ones that I hear a lot about. Just wondering if the Minister has anything specific in regards to that road.
The Honourable the Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I can assure the Honourable Member that the priority that he presented to us, which was the Aylesford Road, that priority will be met, regardless of any protestations I might get from the Deputy Minister. And however, once work on that road is completed, then of course we will be moving on to other priorities. And the road in question is obviously one that needs attention, but in the interim, I'm sure that appropriate amounts of RIM money will be spent on that road.
Honourable Member for Kings West.
One of the paving projects that was designated for the fall did not get completed on the Victoria Road, and I'm just wondering if that was just the company that had the contract, the time of the year, or was it the paving materials? Just wondering, a quick comment from the Minister about the Victoria Road.
The Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works.
Okay. There was some question with regard to the design of that road, and related to that, it wound up being held over for this year.
The Honourable Member for Kings West.
Would like to, I guess at this time, thank the Minister and his staff for certainly giving us very frank and candid responses to our questions. Certainly our caucus appreciated that, and so with that I would take my place and once again thank the Minister.
And invite the Honourable Minister of Transportation and Public Works to close the debate and offer any closing comments and move his resolution.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I want to express my appreciation to all members who participated in the examination of the estimates for the departments and offices for which I have responsibility, and I do appreciate this opportunity to be accountable for how we do our business. Very pleased to be able to represent a group of professionals who are dedicated Nova Scotians, very proud of the work that they do, and that pride shows through, I'm sure, to Nova Scotians. I understand, Mr. Chair, I should complete by moving various resolutions with respect to the estimates. Therefore, move Resolution E17, resolve that the sum not exceeding $28,012,000 be granted to the Lieutenant Governor to defray expenses in respect of the Executive Council pursuant to the estimate for Treasury and Policy Board, Voluntary Planning, and the Office of Gaelic Affairs. Do you want me to read all of them first? And Resolution E33, resolved that a sum not exceeding $319,755,000 be granted to the Lieutenant Governor to defray expenses in respect to the Department of Transportation and Public Works pursuant to the estimate. Resolution E44, resolved that the business plan of Sydney Environmental Resources Limited / Sydney Steel Corporation be approved. And Resolution E45, resolved that the business plan of Nova Scotia Lands Inc. / Harborside Commercial Park Incorporated be approved. Mr. Chair, I move these resolutions.
Shall the resolution stand? All those in favour, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would now move that the committee do now rise and report progress.
Chairman reports.
Committee's made progress and begs leave to sit again.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would now like to call the order of business public bills for second reading.
Public bills for second reading.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I would like to call Bill number 189, the Utility and Review Board Act, Mr. Speaker.
Bill number 189, Utility and Review Board Act.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, and that being my bill, I would move second reading of the bill.
The Honourable Member for Halifax Needham.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just briefly want to speak to this particular bill. I understand that what this bill does is it extends the age of retirement to 70 for members of the UARB. And, Mr. Speaker, although we have no difficulty with this, we do find it puzzling, given that the government has in front of us an elimination of mandatory retirement act,
changing the features of mandatory retirement in the province. Why exactly this inconsistency in the in this particular piece of legislation? But, Mr. Speaker, that's merely all I wanted to remark on this particular bill. Thank you.
If I recognize the Honourable Minister of Justice, we close debate on Bill number 189. The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would move the close of debate and ask for second reading.
The motion is for second reading of Bill 189. Is the House ready for the question? All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Contrary by nay. Motion is carried.
Bill number 189, an act to amend Chapter 11 of the Acts of 1992, the Utility and Review Board Act.
Order that this bill be referred to the Committee on Law Amendments. The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to move that Bill 195, I'm sorry, 197, no, I'm sorry, 195, there's two separate bills. 195, which is an act to respecting, I'm just trying to look for the title of the bill. 195? Sorry, Mr.
Yep.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Speaker, it's an act to amend Chapter 218 of the Revised Statutes 1987, the Incompetent Person Act, and certain other statutes. I would like to ask for the unanimous consent of the House to deem this bill to be on the order paper and to also deem it to be printed for purpose of allowing second reading today.
Is it agreed? The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Minister of Justice, I would like to move second reading of Bill 195.
Second reading, Bill 195. The Honourable Leader of the Liberal Party.
Mr. Speaker, I simply rise for a moment on second reading. Bill 195, I wrote to the Minister on this issue. In fact, this is an issue that was raised by the Catholic Women's League of Nova Scotia, who through their annual conventions and through the hard work that they do, not only in our communities, but they're certainly very active as well, Mr. Speaker, on the policy front. And I want to take this opportunity to commend the Catholic Women's League. I'm fortunate in my riding to have a number of the divisions in the different parishes of the CWL, and they are very active in the community, and they're very active at the provincial level and national level as well in the work that they do. So I'm pleased that they have taken the time to read through some of this legislation, and certainly to point out that a number of the terms that we have in our acts are clearly outdated. They are language that clearly would not be acceptable in this day and age. I don't think they'd be acceptable even, they probably wouldn't even be deemed parliamentary, Mr. Speaker, if some of the words in the acts that we still have on our books would actually be used in this House. I think you would deem them unparliamentary, and as such, I don't think that it makes any sense for us to continue having that type of language exist in the laws of this province to refer to Nova Scotians who may suffer from various types of illnesses. So I want to commend the Minister of Justice. I believe in my discussions with him, he did recognize the efforts by the Catholic Women's League in raising this issue, and I think it's an important role that they play, similar to the Law Reform Commission, which often does bring back changes here to this House of some of our existing legislation. And this is an important update for us to do and make sure that our legislation clearly reflects language that is more appropriate in 2007 than what may have been deemed appropriate many years ago when these acts were first brought to the floor. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I do look forward to this moving on to law amendments, and if there are any concerns or any additional amendments required, we can certainly look at them at that point. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I recognize the Honourable Minister of Finance to close debate on Bill 195. The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Minister of Justice, I would close debate on the bill and move second reading.
The motion is for second reading of Bill 195. Is the House ready for the question? All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Contrary by nay. Motion is carried.
Bill 195, entitled An Act to Amend Chapter 218 of the Revised Statutes 1989, the Incompetent Persons Act, and certain other statutes.
Order that this bill be referred to the Committee on Law Amendments. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. With respect to Bill 197, an act to amend Chapter 244 of the Revised Statutes 1989, the Justices of the Peace Act, Mr. Speaker, I would ask the unanimous consent of the House to deem this bill on the order paper and to deem that the bill has been printed so that we can deal with this bill for second reading.
Request for unanimous consent is agreed. The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Minister of Justice, I would move second reading of the bill.
The Honourable Member for Halifax Fairview.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Very briefly, I'd just like to echo the comments of the member for Halifax Needham when she was speaking a few minutes ago on second reading on Bill 195. The effect of this bill is to change essentially the retirement age of Justices of the Peace from 65 to 70. It's difficult to understand the government's thinking on retirement ages. They have a bill before the House that they say is going to eliminate mandatory retirement, and yet on these two items, that are within their control, they're not eliminating retirement, they're simply changing the number at which people are forced to retire. If the government were truly serious about eliminating retirement age, there would be a different way of doing this. I simply believe that needs to be pointed out, that the government is sending very, very confusing signals on how it feels about retirement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
If I recognize the Honourable Minister of Finance, we close debate on Bill 197. The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd move that debate now be closed and second reading of the bill occur.
The motion is for second reading of Bill 197. Is the House ready for the question? All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Contrary, nay. Motion is carried.
Bill 197, title and act to amend Chapter 244 of the Revised Statutes 1989, the Justices of the Peace Act.
Ordered that this bill be referred to the Committee on Law Amendments. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Yes, I would now call the order of business public bills for third reading. Go back to the Committee of the House.
Public bills for third reading.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I would like to call public bills for third reading. I'm just looking for the list here, Mr. Speaker. Yes, Bill number 136, the Justice Administration Amendment Act 2007.
Bill number 136, the Justice Administration Amendment 2007 Act.
Speaker, on behalf of the Minister of Justice, I would move third reading of the bill.
The motion is for third reading of Bill 136, the Justice Administration Amendment Act. House ready for the question? All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Contrary, nay. Motion is carried.
Bill 136, entitled an act respecting the administration of justice.
Order that the bill do pass. Order that the title be as read by the clerk. Order that the bill be engrossed. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to call Bill number 137, the Livestock Health Services Act, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to move on behalf of the Honourable Minister of Agriculture the third reading of the bill.
Bill number 137, Livestock Health Services Act. The Honourable Member for Hants East.
Thank you to my colleagues. Mr. Speaker, I'll be brief, I hope.
It's not even Friday.
We have no problem with this piece of legislation, I want to say. It probably would be a smart thing, I think, for the government to do, to pass this power or authority from Governor and Council to the Minister when it comes to addressing the issue of payment, actually, for veterinary services to large animal veterinarians in the province. And I'm not sure that actually it wasn't the minister, I think, who spoke to this in second reading, but a former minister. And what the subsidy or payment to veterinarians across the province for large animal practices, what this does is kind of levels the playing field in terms of distance, covering the cost for veterinarian calls, and so that in my area, for example, Fundy Veterinarians, which is in Shubenacadie, which is actually in the Honourable Minister of Agriculture's constituency just across the river from my constituency. What this does is kind of levels the cost for farmers who would call large animal veterinarian in Shubenacadie compared to those, say, in my area in Knoll Shore, which would maybe be 50 kilometers or so away, and that cost to the farmer is the same regardless of the distance. So this allows the minister to make decisions without going to the governor and council on the payment of those subsidies. So, making a long story long, Mr. Speaker, the point that I really want to get to in this address is the notion or the fact that back, I believe, in 2000, when the department, when the government made the cuts to the Department of Agriculture, one of the things it did was cut those fees to large animal veterinarian practices that help cover those costs for traveling those distances. And as yet, and even though just recently the government increased those fees, just in the last weeks, and that was a 2-year process actually, that from the time the increase was recommended to the time that the veterinarians were able to be able to collect that. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, is the cuts that this government made to those fees back 7 years ago. We have not increased the fees back to that level yet. In other words, they're over 7 years behind. And this recent increase, I think they roughly have been about 3% a year or some such thing. But the fees were cut by over 30% at that time, and they haven't come back up by 30%. So veterinarians are still basically subsidizing those costs, or I should say, I guess, farmers to a point. But although this bill doesn't directly relate to the cost, but it relates to the minister's ability to make those decisions regarding cost, and that would be the point to which I encourage the minister, is that now that he has this power, that he actually uses it to speed up the process so that these large animal veterinarians, who are very important to the agricultural sector, that they are compensated in a way that more closely relates to their costs. And as any minister or any member of the House would recognize, just the change in gasoline prices over that period of time would indicate just how significantly they must have fallen behind by now, even if they hadn't been cut back some years ago, Mr. Speaker. So with those few comments, I look forward to seeing this bill get through the House. It does have our support.
If I recognize the Honourable Government House Leader, it will be a closed debate on Bill number 137. The Honourable Government House Leader.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to move to close debate on the bill and ask for second reading.
The motion is for third reading of Bill number 137, Livestock Health Services Act. Is the House ready for the question? All those in favour of the motion, please say aye. Contrary, nay. Motion is carried.
Bill 137, entitled an act to amend Chapter 8 of the Acts of 2001, the Livestock Health Services Act.
Order that the bill do pass. Order that the title be as read by the clerk. Order that the bill be engrossed. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to call Bill number 138, the Medal of Bravery Act.
Bill number 138, Medal of Bravery Act. The Honourable the Premier.
Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to move third reading of the Medal of Bravery Act, Bill number 138.
If I recognize the Honourable Premier, it will be to close debate on Bill number 138. Sorry. My apologies. The Honourable Member for Timberley Prospect.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And again, as I said the other evening on the introduction of the bill, for various health reasons, I'll have some short comments tonight. Hold the applause. And you did, for a change. Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the government for listening to, I think, a rather sensible amendment, particularly when it came to the choice of the committee. The committee structure will be similar to the federal system, making sure that there are various allocated members on the selection committee, still allowing the Premier to make sure that the government of the day has a committee that will allow a selection process that's open and is aware of all the people who will be names brought forward. With those few comments, Mr. Speaker, it's a good moment to say that we will now have, in future years, MB brackets NS behind various people's names in this province as we recognize their accomplishments.